Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Community Podcast, the place where we talk with inspiring people who are shaping the future of learning, work, and community as well as entrepreneurship. Today's guest is Jeroen, and I think I met him a few months ago in one of the events. He shared his knowledge based on what he already engaged in his PhD, and then I thought, okay, it's a good idea to approach him and ask him to share his knowledge and insights about that specific topic. I think today we talk more about that. As I know, he already engaged a lot with education and entrepreneurship. He's been working for years to connect schools, students, and real world challenges, and he believes that education is the foil for the engine of entrepreneurship. From his role at Hansa University to being a national lead for impact entrepreneurship, let's say, in education, he brings a fresh and thoughtful perspectives on what it means to truly learn, grow, and make a difference. I'm really excited to dive into this conversation with him. Thanks, Aaron, for joining me. I believe that you want to add some more info to my intro as well. Feel free to share something more and then we can dive into our conversation.
Oh man, thanks for inviting me, and I'm blushing because wow, what an introduction. Mm, yeah, what can I add to that? Well, what I feel is most important um, is if you are able to help another in developing, in my case, an entrepreneurship, and if you are, yeah, that ableness is really a big word. Like if you are able to do it in either your intellectual capacity or your networking capacity or your inspiring capacity, then I feel you have an obligation to do so. We are a very we are social beings, and we need others to be able to grow and to be able to develop. And that became really, really vivid for me when I became a father, and where I have two children. I have a daughter of 8 and a son of 6, and the questions that they ask and the view that they have on the world. It is so incredibly valuable to be able to create learning environments where I know they will be able to develop their entrepreneurialness even more.
That's right. And the point is, same as you, I'm father of one kid.
Mm.
And the point is, in terms of thinking about education and learning and things like that, I think when we are talking about these kind of stuff, we are talking about the future, or I prefer to say futures. And in terms of futures, we have no idea what futures hold for us. And we need to think how we can prepare ourselves and also our kids to cope with the challenges in futures, but at the same time, we have no idea what are those challenges, and kind of complicated issue. But anyway, let's start with your journey. I'm really curious to learn more and to hear more about your journey so far. How did you get into entrepreneurship and education?
The exact starting point was, ooh, now that's a challenge. It was in 2007, where I used to be the managing director of an incubator in the Mediacentrale that was called Young Entrepreneurs Are Here. And we provided working space and a community to technology and IT minded starters and startups. And part of that program was on Wednesdays, I was a mentor slash coach for students out of vocational education, Alpha College, where I was allowed to assist and help them in developing their business plans, their their dreams, and also their businesses. And as I'm telling it, I'm like, oh yeah, 2007, we didn't have the business model canvas yet, for example. So it was really the old school classic way of looking at business planning. But I noticed when um, looking at my horizons and thinking about, okay, what are actually the things that I like in my job, what gives me energy. That Wednesday, because it was on Wednesday that I gave that coaching and training. That was the only day in the week that I went to my work with happy thoughts. So that was for me really um, a pivotal moment in that I wanted to be able to share and add knowledge to the development of others. Mm. And I was asked when giving a lecture on incubators, what they actually do for startups, um, by one of the team leads at Hanze during the drinks after the lecture. Have you ever thought about going into education? And that was really spot on. That was really the exact right moment to ask me that question because it was yes. I really, really wanted to pivot and go into education. And that started as I think a 1 day a week or something, where I gave a course in communicative management skills. And within, I think 2 months or something, I had a full-time job teaching entrepreneurship, which started as courses in marketing, organizational behavior, change management, and which really quickly became the coordination and development of student companies and being able to do your internships and your graduation projects on your own company.
Fabulous. And what I know, you often mention values like service, safety, and trust. Why are those values important in your board?
Wow, Ben, you really did your research. That's absolutely true. For me, in educator, and education has to be a safe environment, because if you are not able to feel safe, you are not learning. If you are, for example, just to have a analogy, if you are learning how to swim, you are not thrown in the deep end without support, because that is dangerous, that is unsafe. You may be able to learn how to swim, but you are actually surviving. That's a completely different thing. The trust aspect is also completely connected to that. If you do not trust the one that wants to help you, who is the more knowledgeable peer, then there will be no interaction. So trust is incredibly important. And the third one, service, is it's actually something that I learned during my Master of Education on the 5th of May, 4th of May, sorry, where we have the dodenherdenking in the Netherlands. And General Van just lost his child in Afghanistan, and he was talking about the power of service, and not in the military sense, but in the human sense. And this is also where what I started this our conversation with. I absolutely believe in it. If you have the ability to help others, you are obliged to do it. That is what service means to me.
And as I know, also impact entrepreneurship is a strong focus for you.
Yes.
We can connect this to the previous point. What does that mean to you personally, and why is it important right now?
Um, when I was exploring if I wanted to do a PhD, I was part of a what was called a teacher's road to excellence, which is the teaching teacher program for teachers that want to teach in honors programs. That was a lot of use of the words teach, but you get my voice. And I was actually really interested in is there a difference between normal entrepreneurship and honors entrepreneurship? What would that look like? Is there something like excellence in entrepreneurship? And what I did is I used a method where I asked people to write down, what do you feel is normal entrepreneurship? And
What?
and then shift your piece of paper to your neighbor, and the neighbor has to add to that. And that's something that you do 5 times, and then you ask the other question. Okay, but what is an excellent entrepreneurship to you? And then you do the same exercise. And I did that with students, with teachers, with policymakers, and with a couple of team leads and deans. And then I coded the data, and what I found is that actually all of them view excellent entrepreneurship as doing something back for society. So normal entrepreneurship, which is absolutely fine, is that you make money, that you want to create value, but whereas the prime goal of the company is to make my gains, my profit gains. Whereas excellent entrepreneurship or honest entrepreneurship was always described as doing something back for society, doing good. So this was in 2000, what was it? I think 2015-ish, something somewhere along there. And I think that is also the moment where I was like, okay, if we are talking about value creation, financial is just one of the values. Cultural, societal, and oh no, I forgot the fourth one. Uh, Cultural, societal, and social. Social. Those are the and financial. Those are the four. Where financial is really, it's okay. It's okay if you want to have that as your goal for your company. But if you really want to create value, then you are making a connection between all four. And that for me is impact entrepreneurship. Not just doing it for yourself, but doing it for society.
Good, great. And as I already mentioned, also you are trying to play in kind of playground related to education entrepreneurship, and you are trying also to engage more students because at least in that event I met you, you tried to share some more insights in terms of entrepreneurial mindset and effectuation. Later on, we will talk more.
Yeah.
But before that, what are some challenges you face when trying to bring real world entrepreneurship into schools or universities? Because this is one of the main job you are busy with, right?
So we are talking about how to get entrepreneurs into the classroom.
No, I'm more talking about how you try to bring more opportunities for learning about entrepreneurial mindset and engage, for example, the students and changing maybe or I don't know. I don't want to say change. I mean engaging more in these kind of mindset as well.
The biggest challenges there is actually not so much the student, because the student wants to learn. That's why they choose to do an education. They are more often than not, for example, those that honors entrepreneurship or that entrepreneurship where you're doing something back for society is normal for them. It is not something that they view as different from regular entrepreneurship, and that if you follow that thought line, then the biggest naysayers are the teachers. Is actually staff, which is actually not that weird that they are the naysayers because they have these set programs. They have this. They have to take you through a course of 10 weeks or 20 weeks and have their learning outcomes, etc., that they have to achieve and also have to assess. So it is the biggest challenge is in creating actually space and time for being able to talk about your mindset and your why. What do you want to do with entrepreneurship? That really take time.
Speaking of your PhD, I also already mentioned that at Benuk Community, one of the main focus area for us is futures literacy and bring that mindset in different settings. I see some similarities between futures literacy and what you have been busy for past few years. I'm talking about entrepreneurial mindset and effectuation. We'd love to explore more about that mindset as well because of these reasons I mentioned. How do these concepts show up in your teaching or advising? And maybe it's a good idea also to share a little bit more. What is that mindset?
When we are talking about the entrepreneurial mindset or the construct that I'm using in my PhD, it is the ability and willingness to act in a situation with an uncertainty of gain. That is the definition that we use. And if you look at that definition, there are a few operant words in there. It's ability, willingness, and action. Or if you want to put that really simply, am I able and willing to do it? And those are aspects that are, some of them are trainable, some of them you can reflect on, and some of them you can see in action. So the starting point for my PhD was that I saw a very different assessment and evaluation in different student groups where we have the same program, where we have this kind of the same teachers, and we have the same kind of classroom dynamics. Not so much dynamics, but they are scheduled in the same room. They have it on the same time, etc. So they were almost homogeneous in their what they get, who they are, and whom they are getting it from. And still there were differences. And I found that really interesting. Why are there still differences in the evaluation, in the experience of the classroom? And if it were to be pinpointed to one teacher, and I could explain it, but that wasn't the case. There were absolutely teachers that spiked in, okay, this is something that I don't like that he or she is doing, but that was not on one teacher and also not from one group. And there was also difference in if one of the other teachers got in front of the class where the other teacher was, there were still differences. So I found that really interesting. And then I really looked into, we did focus groups and we did interviews with students, and we really found out, okay, but they are talking about the interactions. They are not talking about the content of the program, and they are not talking about the teacher, him or herself. They are talking about what's happening between us. And that's really interesting.
That's why, in your view, I guess there is a difference between teaching about entrepreneurship and teaching in an entrepreneurial way, something like that, right?
Exactly. Exactly. For teaching about entrepreneurship, then we are talking about marketing, organizational behavior, research, lean canvas, stuff like that. But teaching in entrepreneurship, then we are having you experience what it is like to start a company or to start a collaboration, to be in those dynamics of what it is to create something new. Um, and in those interactions, we saw very different words being used. I don't like when this happens to me, or this was amazing. This was something that was truly inspiring. And that gave me the eureka moment, so to speak. Okay, let's dive into these interactions. What is actually going on there? And that is also why it is not only entrepreneurial mindset, but it is also scaffolding. Scaffolding is the other very important word in my research. What kind of scaffolding, support, service, again, back to my values, are beneficial to which kind of entrepreneurial mindset archetype?
Nice, nice. Speaking of this approach, I mean, teaching in entrepreneurship, not about entrepreneurship. What are some simple ways educators can help students become more entrepreneurial, even if they are not planning to start a business or their business?
Actually, my PhD would tell you there is no one way, but there are 5 ways that connect differently to the 5 different profiles. So my research found 5 profiles which significantly have benefit from 5 different scaffolding strategies. But overall, I would say what my research is actually about is how do you give confidence to another? If you are able to see that it is not about you as an educator, but it is how you can help the learner learn, then you understand teaching.
I already mentioned, speaking of learning and education means speaking about future. I'm really curious to know more about your view in terms of the future of learning, the future of education. What does a future ready learning environment look like to you? Definitely, you already thought about that and you have some ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also part of a European university, the STARS EU European University, and STARS EU stands for Strategic Alliance for Regional Transition in the European Union. And one of the parts that I'm connected to is the micro credential, which connects to lifelong learning. And for me, if you look at pure content driven education, that is a business model that's not going to work anymore. Because if you look at the working life, if you look at employees, if you look at the challenges of the future, we are not looking for diplomas. We are looking for people with a skill set. We are looking for people that are able to adapt and respond to new dynamics. People that are able and willing to act in a situation with an uncertainty of gain. Again, back to the entrepreneurial mindset. We are also now in a time where technology is rapidly developing and where technology is more than able to overtake what we are now doing in education. So we have chatbots, we have all kinds of AI models that are better at it than our teachers are.
That's right.
I can imagine that if you look at, I'm a big Star Trek fan. I believe we are able to make a emergency medical hologram, the EMH. I also believe we are more than able to make the emergency educational hologram. If we are able to find out, okay, which kinds of dynamics, which kinds of interactions work for which archetypes, then we are able to create algorithms out of that and be able to, okay, this is the interaction that I'm getting. This is the support that I have to give you. What does that say is that what is then the value of the teacher that is still the same as that we are in that analogy of the swimming pool. Again, if I learn how to swim, you need that human social interaction to get that confidence to be able to do it. Technology is only something that supports you. It is not the enabler of you being able to follow education. If we lose touch with whom we are doing this for, that serviceability again, then it has no value.
So, recently, most of people, I mean, in academia as well as in startup ecosystem, they are a little bit worried about budget cuts in the Netherlands. What gives you hope when you think about the future of education and entrepreneurship in the Netherlands or beyond, based on what's happening around us now?
Yeah, right. I like that question. You know, there's this saying, this too shall pass. That is something that gives me hope. And what also gives me hope is if I read all of the sector plans, if I read all of the plans in the European Union, we have an obligation to educate all of our citizens in being more entrepreneurial and being more entrepreneurial in that multiple value creation aspect, not just finance, but also societal and social and cultural. That gives me hope.
And the last question, but not least, definitely I missed something to ask, or maybe you want to emphasize on something which is really important.
Mhm.
At the end, I prefer just to give you more space to share what you think is important because so far I've tried to ask my questions and,
Yeah.
coordinate the conversation, but definitely I missed something. I'm really curious to learn more about something I didn't pay attention.
There's a very, very, there are a couple of really interesting quotes in entrepreneurship and in education. I feel the most powerful one is still the one by Mandela. Education is the most powerful weapon with which we can use to change the world. I completely believe in that. And the other one is by Einstein. If you do what you did, you will get what you got. Not verbatim the quote, but it's the idea. So if we want to change the world, that means that we have to do things differently. We really have to challenge the status quo. And I'm not a fan of Apple, but I am more talking now in words of Apple.
I know.
They have a point. If you want to really change the world with education, that means that you have to change education in itself as well. And one of the closing remarks in my PhD is it is the interaction that makes things grow. And that also means that goes both ways. I can also grow from the interaction that I have with my students.
Exactly.
And it is for me, it is in that respect that if we are able to create an environment of safety, trust, and serviceability aimed at helping the other develop, so again, both ways, then we are actually creating transversal, universal value.
In a nutshell, you shared a very important point, which means we need each other, to share our resource, knowledge, experience, insights,
Yes.
collaboration, co-creation, all of these kind of stuff. Because finally, I guess by this kind of collaboration, we can do more with less.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. It's clear that your passion for education, entrepreneurship, and collaboration is making a real impact. I enjoyed a lot of that session. I joined, I mean, a few months ago, I think, I guess.
Yep.
And yeah, and it's been a real pleasure having you in this episode. For everyone now listening to us, if something is in this conversation sparked a new idea or got them thinking differently, we'd love to hear from them. Also, if they find some insightful points, feel free to share it with their friends. And don't forget to subscribe these podcasts, because we publish Bennu Community podcasts in different platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Castbox, and other platforms, which is available. Later on, also, we share your LinkedIn profile. I mean, the link in the caption, which means if people want to follow you or, I don't know, connect with you on LinkedIn, it could be easy to find you as well. If you have anything else you want to share, more than happy to hear. If not, maybe next time we will talk more about more detail in terms of your experience.
If you would like to see some more about my research, there are two YouTube videos that I made, one in English and one in Dutch about entrepreneurial mindset. So if you look up for my last name and entrepreneurial mindset of ondernemende mindset in Dutch, you will find a 20-minute video about
Good.
research.
We also share the link in the caption as well later on. Yeah, it's a good idea. Thank you. Thank you again. Wish you all the best and hope to see you soon.
Thank you. You as well.